Hello, I'm Elijah. Darwinism is central to Pat's beliefs, having, in his eyes, the capacity to remove the need for belief in the creative God. He clings religiously to the origin of species, speaks in defense of its teachings, and as seen in his video titled, Origin of the Species, evangelizes on its behalf. But is this cornerstone of Pat's Methodist creed founded on evidence? Is it even founded on science? No. Darwinism is a tautological plagiarism of Malthusian socioeconomics, antiquated Greek theories, and Schopenhauer's debunked speculations on sexual selection, all knitted together with the Calvinist survival of the spiritually fittest through predestination, present in Darwin's Church of England upbringing. Add a good dose of Victorian nationalism, and it's clear why Darwin didn't even bother with an explanation for utility. Left with nothing other than Darwin's theory, life began and evolved for the purpose of becoming Darwinius Drinkius Victorianus, a species of heartless capitalists which inhabited Victorian England. Darwin's theory, an exercise in pseudoscience, which factors in no knowledge of DNA, the enzyme protein, and other genetic complexities, relying solely on homology, ad hoc explanations, and presumptions, beguiled a nation newly arrived at the nadir of its own gluttonous and selfish existence. When any decadent high culture reaches this point, the realization that its own material success has not fulfilled its destiny dynamic induces a need in its elite to externalize the reasons for its shortcomings. This pattern of buyer's remorse, blame, and counter-blame appears in all high cultures. Darwinism afforded a scapegoat, the lowest members of Victorian society fitting the bill nicely, and offer justification for viewing the scapegoat as an unworthy parasite, an evolutionary detour, rather than a collection of vulnerable human beings. The Darwin-adoring, Hitler-doting Marie Stopes achieved a more remarkable feat in convincing these undesirable elements to commit demographic suicide. For some among the elite, the open culling of one's compatriots remained a notion far too vulgar for their sensibilities, but not for Stopes. Reluctantly compromising on the eugenics-inspired culling she had hoped for, Stopes set about establishing abortion providers in the slums of London, preying on the wretchedness of their inhabitants. Little wonder, then, that Darwin's intellectual and ethical superiors Louis Agassiz, Du Bois-Reymond, and Driesch, men who dealt in things which can be tested, observed, and replicated, rather than the hackneyed philosophy of Darwinism, rejected Darwin's theory and condemned it as being dangerous and unsubstantiated. For these men, as with me, Darwinism is a powerful political phenomenon, not science. It is an anachronism and an aberration in morality. Unlike Kendall, I cannot disregard the 800-pound gorilla in the room. All who cling to Darwinism have struggled to keep it under control, or simply wish it away. The gorilla is relevance. As they are aware, unless evolutionary cosmology can cook up a feasible explanation for the origin of the universe, one which can be demonstrated to apply outside of an environment designed and controlled by human intelligence, evolutionary biology is irrelevant, and its theories are question-begging. Juxtapose this uncertainty with the confident rationality of intelligent design, which has none of the gaps, can be demonstrated through universal laws and organic complexity, begs no questions and leaves none unanswered, and we begin to understand the Darwinist's consternation at the prospect of ID being taught side by side with cosmology and evolution. The greater the advances in science, the more glaring the truth becomes. Far from being a figurehead for reason, Darwin was a fabricator of a fantastical religion founded on plagiarism, philosophy, and false hope. Only the most rabid Methodists are willing to blindly leap the gaps, complete the circle, and put the cart so far before the horse in the forlorn defense of the theory. For a genuine freethinker, the desire to wish God away should not enter into their assessment of Darwinism's value, or lack of. Pat's religious zeal renders him incapable of such objectivity. his deeply held belief is no more factual than Aristotle's theory of spontaneous generation, another of Darwin's inspirations. It can't even be observed. The National Academy of Sciences concedes that, quote, while the mechanisms of evolution are still under investigation, scientists universally accept that the cosmos, our planet, and life evolved, and continue to evolve. And to quote the U.S. Department of Energy, Darwin's theory cannot be proven, nor can they be replicated. We haven't made evolving life in the laboratory yet. That is a pickle. Before we can even begin considering a theory as a scientific fact, empirical evidence is required. Darwin's theory fails this prerequisite. But it's okay. As we read in Hebrews chapter 11 of the Holy Bible, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Being atheist, I can identify with Pat's faith, but not with his lack of reason and evidence. Pat can cheerlead for his religious dogma all he likes, but it remains science fiction, and contradicts scientific fact, even contradicting cell theory, which, unlike evolution, can be demonstrated and observed. Ideas of the universe arising from a solely material genesis of space and energy, developing from magically appearing matter, sits on the shelf, alongside Harry Potter novels, and Origin of the Species. Claims of universal constants, such as the ratio of electrons to protons, the mass of the universe, the weak and strong nuclear force constants, the velocity of light, and the rate of proton decay, spontaneously arising without the aid of intelligence, must be allotted a place with the fairies at the bottom of Pat's garden. Farewell.